Bad news for law-abiding citizens. Apparently Diddy was just found not guilty for, I think it was 3 of the serious crimes that he was accused of. So we're gonna watch this MSNBC video real quick on that, and then we're gonna watch Charlie's video on it as well. So we're just gonna get into that now.
Let's go back to Rahema Ellis, because I know you have some more information about what's happening in the courtroom right now. Rahema.
Absolutely. The jurors they've told the jurors they should come back into the courtroom. The judge has also addressed those in the courtroom, telling them that they should maintain decorum when this verdict is read. We have the verdict, we're told, on all 5 counts now. Combs is seated. His head is down. The defense team is standing right now. The word in this that we're getting from our producers is that the tension is palpable inside that courtroom. Again, the defense is standing. The jury is coming in. You can only imagine the kind of tension. Again, Combs is seated. His head is down. Everyone is quiet. Everyone is standing when the jurors came in. The judge was had asked the deputy to hand him a note, and again, asking everyone to maintain order when the verdict is read.
Interesting. So bro's just sitting there like this, basically praying to whatever the fuck he believes in, because I don't think it's God. I certainly hope not. That would look bad on Christians, but...
We're just moments away, just seconds away from finding out what the outcome is on this federal trial against Sean Diddy Combs. After some 34 witnesses, more than 7 weeks of testimony in this case,
damn,
we're now about to find out what the fate is for 55-year-old Sean Diddy Combs, a man who was born in New York, raised in Mount Vernon.
Surely the fate isn't good, right, Chad? I'm sure nothing totally corrupt could happen.
Vernon, and built a hip-hop empire, if you will, from humble beginnings. And now he's standing, waiting to find out what his fate is.
Why are we talking about him like the guy is dying? Like, oh no, he came from humble beginnings. He built up a massive hip-hop empire that did crimes. What the fuck are you talking about? He did bad things. I don't give a fuck what the jury says. They were all paid off, I promise you.
By 8 men and 4 women, the jurors, who have been charged with to decide his fate on these 5.
Charged with what?
Who have been charged with to decide.
I don't even know what the fuck word she just said. Deciding? Is that what she was saying?
His fate on these 5 counts, federal counts, that we've been talking about,
who have been charged with decide his... Alright, whatever.
Including the racketeering and the sex trafficking. Again, the last note we're seeing right now is that the jury is coming in.
Yeah, Rahema, we're just waiting.
Anna,
exactly. We're waiting for our reporters inside the courtroom to fill out this jury sheet as the verdict is read. And again, the jury's there. So as soon as we have the verdict, we will report that out right now. In the meantime, Christy, as we await the answer to all of our questions, which is he guilty or not guilty, we should note that there are 5 counts. Talk to us about his potential sentence involving these crimes.
So there are 2 of the 5 counts that are for sex trafficking, one for sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, the other for sex trafficking of Jane Doe. Each of those counts carries a mandatory minimum, meaning the judge cannot go lower than 15 years in prison.
Christy, I'm gonna interrupt you. Forgive me. We have the first verdict.
Oh shit!
On count 1. Racketeering conspiracy. How do you find the defendant
All right, so we already have one that's not guilty. All right.
Not guilty.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest, chat. I'm not sure what racketeering means. So.
And so now they'll move on to count two. Count two. How do you find the defendant not guilty? That is the sex trafficking of
What? Bro. They had to have been paid off. There's no way.
Cassandra Ventura. On count
We have all. Did y'all not see all the evidence and all the testimonies? What do they mean not guilty?
3, which is Mann Act transportation involving Cassie Ventura, guilty.
Okay.
Count 4, sex trafficking of Jane, not guilty.
What the
Count 5, Mann Act transportation of Jane, guilty. So, a mixed verdict here.
So he's only guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. That's it? Are you joking?
Not guilty on 3 of the charges, guilty on 2 of the charges. Lisa, your reaction?
Well, this might explain the sort of confusion that we had yesterday, and I want to go back to what a racketeering conspiracy is about and why, having found 2 instances of transportation with an intent to commit prostitution, this is a jury that still didn't find Sean Combs guilty of a racketeering conspiracy because, as you and I were just discussing, 2 acts of transportation for purposes of prostitution would qualify as the 2 predicate racketeering acts. But of course, a RICO charge requires 2 other things. It requires that the jury find an existence of a conspiracy, and it requires also that they find that there is an enterprise formed for the purposes of carrying out unlawful acts. And that may be where the hangup is, because the charges of transporting both Cassie Ventura and Jane Doe for purposes of prostitution, they were against Sean Combs alone. They were not framed as conspiracy charges. The jurors here saying they find Sean Combs guilty of it, but they may not have bought the fact that, for example, to the extent that people in his business life, people who were employees of Combs Enterprises, which even the prostitution concedes is also a legitimate business, they may not have accepted that Sean Combs was simultaneously running a criminal enterprise largely fueled by people who were legitimate employees of his other businesses, including his chief of staff.
Well, like, no shit. Like, I'm sure it was actually the other way around. They were actually first working for him under the radar and then became actual employees. I'm totally sure that was the other way around.
Heads of security, multiple personal assistants. According to the prosecution's theory of the case and testimony
it's like a
that they
cover
obtained,
employment.
all of those people were intimately involved in facilitating Sean Combs's 2 decades-long pattern of sex.
All right, why does the news actually suck at fucking equalizing their audio?
Trafficking and abuse of these women. Again, based on this verdict, you may have a jury that just didn't buy that part. They may have thought Sean Combs did this alone, but he wasn't responsible for sex trafficking his ex-girlfriends. At worst, he transported them different places, both within the United States and outside the United States, for the purposes of engaging in commercial sex acts with escorts whom he procured, or that the girlfriends or other people in his life procured for him. That was part and parcel, Anna, of the sort of freak-off pattern that prosecutors...
That is still such a stupid fucking name. A freak-off? Can we take this shit seriously, bro, and not call it a damn freak-off?
laid forth before this jury.
And so I want to bring in former Manhattan District Attorney Catherine Christian now. So we have 3 not guilty verdicts on the most serious crimes, the racketeering conspiracy, the sex trafficking crimes involving Cassie Ventura, as well as the woman who went by Jane, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. What's your reaction to this verdict? What do you make of it?
Well, the
I think it's bullshit.
defense is breathing a sigh of relief. Yes, there are 2 guilty counts on the Mann Act charges, but as Christy said earlier, he's no longer facing a mandatory minimum. He's been acquitted on the highest counts, the RICO counts, the sex trafficking counts. What I think the juries are allowed to speak publicly about their verdict. But what happens here when you have sex trafficking for Miss Ventura and then the sex trafficking for Jane Doe, the jury clearly did not believe that the government proved beyond a reasonable doubt that these two women were sex trafficked by force or by fraud or coercion.
How, might I ask? Because there was a lot of testimonies and a lot of corroboration of the same thing happening. And we're just gonna say, nah, actually, I don't believe you. You can go fuck yourself, basically. Like, what do you mean, bro?
For Ms. Ventura, it's a very hard lift to explain to a jury why someone would stay for years who was a victim of intimate partner violence. And clearly, they've decided that she was not a victim of sex trafficking. The text messages where she indicated that she wanted to, engage in it, they may just have not believed that she wasn't a willing participant. That's what these two not guilty counts on the sex trafficking say to me.
Christy, you spent a lot of time in that courtroom listening to witness testimony. Again, there were 34 witnesses, all called by the prosecution. The defense chose to call 0 witnesses. Are you surprised by this outcome?
Yes, I really am. To not find that there was sex trafficking, in particular of Cassie Ventura, when there is a video. It's not a heavy lift. There is a video that we've all seen where she is trying to leave one of these freak-offs.
Based. She's just telling it like how the facts are. Because we've all fucking seen it, like she said. How are you gonna deny that that happened?
He is then beating her and dragging her by the hair to bring her back. There is an escort in the room. It's not, all you need is that one incident. You can have all the text messages in the world where she's saying she consented to other acts, but that one incident alone would have been sufficient for this jury to convict. So essentially, the jury must not have believed her. And at that point, you're not believing your own eyes. So this is, as far as verdicts go, this is a real backlash, I think, to the Me Too movement, to believe.
There's literally, like, I already said this, but there's literally no way our government isn't corrupt at this point. Because what the fuck is this?
Women, when they are not just telling you with their words, but when they are backed up by video, by other witnesses, by the escorts in the room, by their family members. I mean, there's a reason he was extorting Cassie Ventura's mother. I mean, her friends, all the people who witnessed the violence and said they were scared of him. And so they were so scared they didn't want to call the police and they didn't want to leave areas he was in. All of his personal assistants who were terrified by this man's reign of terror, having sat there in court for all of Cassie's testimony and then sitting there for all of these other witnesses who corroborated what she said. It is, I think, a stunning verdict to come back and find him not guilty of the sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura. So I really think that anyone who says, oh, the Me Too movement, things have changed, not quite.
Lisa, what's your take on the message this verdict sent?
I really agree with Christy on this, because had they found Sean Combs guilty of sex trafficking, I said yesterday that this case could be potentially game-changing, because it was asking the jurors to accept that you could be in a relationship with somebody that in some respects looked consensual and yet was still not only exploitative but coercive, involved force as a means to your own sexual gratification. And particularly in the rebuttal argument, which I have to commend Christy for pointing out to me how exemplary it was. Maureen Comey, who was the lead prosecutor, emphasized to the jury one of the things Christy just said. They only needed to find one incident, even if they thought that at other times in the relationship that she consensually engaged in the freak-offs, that, for example, at the beginning of their relationship, she might have done so to hold on to him, to maintain his happiness. It is clear that by the end...
All right, why the fuck they got this old man out here protecting the front door?
maintain his happiness. It
There's
is
no way.
clear that by the end, both of those women, Cassie Ventura and Jane Doe, were engaging in the freak-offs and even soliciting some of the escorts themselves because it was necessary to keep a roof over their heads and also intrinsic to their own physical safety. And so the prosecutors invited the jurors to not separate the violence from the sex, but to see it as part and parcel of the same thing, saying he didn't beat her up in the hallway of the Intercontinental because they were having a dispute about his phone, which was the defense's theory. No, he beat her up in the hallway of the Continental because there was still an escort waiting in their room, and he was not done with the freak-off. That's why he comes outside in the towel in the infamous video that we've all seen.
This shit is so stupid. How could you possibly come to this fucking verdict? I don't understand.
What an infuriating and sad day. I guess all the baby oil paid
Legitimately, bro.
off for P. Diddy because he was too slippery for the justice system. I cannot believe it. They have now reached a verdict on all the charges, and he has been acquitted of the most serious ones.
Yeah.
The Lord of Lube wiggles his way out of it somehow, despite
He just slips right out. That's insane.
overwhelming evidence to support the allegations against P. Diddy about the decades worth of evil, criminal activities and actions he has done, terrorizing the music industry and so many individuals. It seems like the dawn of dildos is about to get away with a slap on the wrist, and maybe not even that much. He has been found guilty on 2 of the lesser charges, which could carry a maximum of 20 years in prison. But I've completely lost faith in the system here. I have to imagine this is all just now horseradish and barnacles. I think he will probably just get away with like 6 months probation or some shit.
5
Yeah.
counts. We have a mixed verdict here. Again, count 1 as it relates to racketeering, not guilty. Count 2 as it relates to sex trafficking, not guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 5, guilty.
Those 2 counts he was found guilty on, that was like Weenie Hut Jr. level charges compared to the rest, and it's something the defense, I imagine, was extremely pleased to have been found guilty on versus the rest.
Of course. Yeah. This is actually wild, bro.
This is insane, dude.
They were so happy, in fact, that reportedly P. Diddy even stood up and started clapping. Literally like
Wait, actually, I just realized Hassan's probably happy about this.
a Tumblr fanfic. He stood up, started clapping, and then like his friends and family erupted into applause. Now the judge is...
Yeah, this was P. Diddy's family. Oh yeah, I just gotta play this sound effect that I forgot that I have on my stream deck.
Considering what bail should be, and we move on to the next stage, which will be the sentencing for these 2 charges, which carry a maximum of 10 years each. He's not going to be seeing the maximum. He probably won't even be seeing the minimum. They might just let him walk away with being forced to play League of Legends solo queue for like 2 months or something, and that'll...
Actually, if that were the case, if I was forced to be playing League of Legends, how do I tell you I would go to jail?
be his punishment. It is such a fucking
No way.
joke what just happened here. I actually still can't believe it. It is sickening. So I truly wouldn't be surprised if he just fully walks free from this, and I guess we can expect the grand reopening of Puffy Flavor Camp. Everyone out there, sleep in fear. Make sure you're sleeping on your back, because if you sleep on your stomach, P. Diddy might just break into your house in the middle of the night and shove a dildo up your ass.
Yep.
It is still just so fucking unbelievable to me.
He's climbing through your window.
I thought this was dead
Snatching
to
your
rights.
people up.
Not only because of the overwhelming evidence, but also his team wasn't exactly a cohesive unit. Like, not that long ago, one of his big lawyers quit, saying he could no longer, under any circumstances, represent him, serve as a member of his council. and somehow they were still able to squeak a win out from between P. Diddy's greased butt cheeks here. I don't know. Did they promise, like, freak-off invitations to the jury? I have no clue. I don't get it. I really, truly do not understand how this just happened.
It's a mixed verdict, but it is a stunning victory for the defense. The Mann Act, these charges, these were the easiest for prosecutors to prove, the lowest hanging fruit, merely required showing that state lines were crossed for the purpose to engage in prostitution. We saw a lot of evidence on these charges, did not have that element, Laura, of force, fraud, or coercion. And this carries the lightest sentence of these charges. It is a maximum of 10 years. And keep in mind, when you're talking about maximums aren't the rule, they are the exception. They're for the most exceptional and severe cases. So now you're talking about a sentence that's potentially in the lower range.
Oh my fucking fuck! There's no way he's getting the max, bro. Our government's not gonna let him have the max. They're going to just let him go, I'm sure. I have no faith in our fucking, what is it, the judicial branch at this point?
Range with time served because he's been behind bars.
Yeah, again, he's definitely not seeing the maximum penalty for those charges. I would be surprised if he even saw the minimum. My guess would be, and of course I haven't passed the bar, so this is just fucking Neanderthal spitballing. My guess would be they'll weigh the time served behind bars throughout this case as like you've learned your lesson, and wiggle their finger. Don't do it again, and give them some really light punishment. Very, very.
Hey, when it comes to the number of years that P. Diddy has to serve in prison,
Let's up those numbers!
Very light sentencing. And then when he's out on bail or full-blown walks free, I imagine baby oil will go extinct. And I predict that there will be a freak-off the likes of which the cosmos has never seen. It'll be filled with so much degeneracy that it will give birth to Slanesh in the warp in real life. It's going to be a Warhammer 40k event.
bro, he's gonna have a freak-off party and he's going to invent a new fucking STD. I swear. Quote me on that shit.
It's just so fucking despicable, man. It really is.
The fact that these sex trafficking charges, specifically with respect to Cassie Ventura, means that the jury was convinced by the defense, at least with respect to reasonable doubt, that the commercial sex, i.e. the freak-offs, were not connected to some of this violence, that there was not that force, fraud, or coercion element. That is, by far, from a penalty perspective, the most serious. It carried a 15-year minimum. So that is a huge distinction.
Really feels like if you've got enough money, somehow a lot of those very serious, very well-documented things just never really seem to stick in court for some reason. It's so weird how that works. It's so odd how we see that happen so many times. I don't know.
It's almost like
seems
you paid
a bit
them
fishy
off.
There. From everything I've seen from a couple of lawyers discussing it, the big thing here seems that the RICO charges weren't conveyed well enough for the jury to understand, and that it could have been, like, difficult in the first place as a potential overcharging on P. Diddy.
Bro, it's because everybody's on fucking TikTok. Oh my god, I hate TikTok. I don't even use TikTok. This is a stupid fucking argument that I'm making anyways.
So that was like an uphill battle. Obviously, I don't understand all the nuance to how that shit works in court, like how it all shakes down the fucking Rube Goldberg machine that is arguing RICO charges. I'm not Saul Goodman. But outside of that, the lawyers also expressed how stunned they were that he was found not guilty on the sex trafficking by force and coercion. It seems like, at least from the lawyers that I've read and watched from, they were also very surprised that somehow the jury wasn't convinced on those. That one really did seem like a pretty big slam dunk in the case. Like, at least most sane human beings would think so, but somehow it didn't stick. Somehow it didn't shake out that way. To be found not guilty on those is baffling. Actually baffling. And I went to a live stream where some lawyers were talking, and reading the chat, it will make you lose all possible faith that there's real people online. There are so many people that are
Dead internet theory.
How many goddamn Joe Bidens build back better backyard barbecue beef burger patties? Can you put on one motherfucking Joe Biden's build back better backyard? Butter key, butter backyard, barbecue, burger bun bake, burger bun. Here's the deal, folks. You can stack them high and deep because we're all about building back better.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
elated, celebrating that P. Diddy is free and saying he should go as far as suing the government for the charges they brought against him. Unironically, I saw someone donate saying, does P. Diddy have a case against the government to sue them for this? Holy shit.
This is probably what Diddy and his team are gonna do after they're found not guilty of everything.
They came all over the place.
What, I don't know how so many people have been poisoned by stupidity. Like an action, there must be some kind of hole in the ozone layer that's letting pure concentrated stupid come through, and it is just destroying neurons at an alarming rate. Such an unfortunate outcome. There's a lot of people that are now going to need to be looking over their shoulder here with this P. Diddy verdict. One of them being a bodyguard who said if P. Diddy walks, he's going to need to go into hiding. I think that's not an exaggeration. He most likely will, in order to stay alive. This is a dangerous man with an extremely well-recorded history of horrible shit he has done, who is now getting let off very easily here. Now, if you're a sane, sensible person, you're probably pretty angered by the outcome.
Yep.
But we don't live in a world where everyone's sane and sensible. There is a not small group of people, the Free Diddy drones, that are very, very pleased. They're very excited that P. Diddy is going to be most likely getting let off super, super easily. They are elated right now, these fucking weirdos. They're acting like they're part of the crew, part of the ship, like they'll get the invite to the next freak off. And they are so happy. Fucking weirdos out there. It's crazy how anyone can view this as anything other than a disaster. A fucking travesty where the justice system just failed so many people. Yeah, I'll stop ranting and raving about it. That's really about it. See ya.
Well, it's a horrible day for our country. Anyways, if you guys liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. And this video was recorded live on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. I'll see y'all later.